Well, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Missy Reads and that's what I do. I'm Missy and I read. I'm a school librarian and I'm a curator of books for a media center at a high school here in Georgia. And so it was just advised to me, hey, you're on Book Talk, you're on TikTok. Why don't you get on YouTube and start shooting video and telling people what you're reading and what you think? And so that's what I'm going to do because a lot of people do it. I know I'm late to the party, but I am the party. So with that being said, I wanted to begin this channel with just a short little video on some books that I've purchased in the last couple of months that I'm like, why haven't you shared these on Book Talk? Which I haven't. And so I decided that I was going to share it with my new YouTube family. So I frequent a lot of different types of bookstores throughout the area and where I live. There is one particular bookstore that is very, very dear to my heart. It is a local bookstore here in my town. And the name of that bookstore is ConversationStarters Bookstore. Isn't that cute? That's their little emblem and their little logo. Very cute. So it is a Black-owned bookstore here in Locust Grove, Georgia. I actually live in the next town over in Griffin, Georgia. But anyway, so I purchased a couple of books a few months back when I just popped in because it had been a while. And so the books that I purchased was Tracy's Brown, Hold You Down. And it's I think it's a contemporary book. It is about... well, it's actually New York City, late 80s to early 90s, and it's about Mercy and Lennox Howard. So I just thought that it was interesting. I believe they are sisters growing up in the mean streets of Harlem with an absentee mother meant that they had to have each other's backs. Now, young, smart mothers, they're determined to survive in New York City while raising their two sons, Dion and Judah, who have bright futures ahead of them. So I just, I've read a little bit about this book, and so I just thought that I would give it a try. So this is Hold You Down by Tracy Brown. And hey, if you've read it, leave a comment for me. And also, I'm going to say, hit the button, like and subscribe, and I would be grateful because I'm trying to grow my YouTube. Okay, so then the other book I purchased was All Her Little Strangers, and this is by Wanda M. Morris. I've never read anything from this author. In this fast-paced debut thriller, Wanda M. Morris crafts a twisty mystery about a Black lawyer who gets caught in dangerous conspiracy after the sudden death of her boss. So I am a thriller girl, which I didn't mention that. I am all things thrillers. I love a good thriller. I like a book that's going to keep the pages turning and me just enthralled into what's going to happen. I like to guess what's going to happen. And if I don't guess what's happened, it's a pretty good thriller because a lot of time I'm like, okay, I don't really trust anybody. So that's the reason why I probably do kind of figure out what's going on. So yes, All Her Little Secrets. I'm really excited to read this one. So these are the two books that I purchased from Conversation Starters. And I'm going to put all the different links of the different books and the different people or places that I purchased, just in case you're in the area, you can frequent these bookstores. I'm a big independent bookstore person as well, even though I do shop at big box bookstores, but I would prefer to really support indie authors and indie bookstores in particular. Also, I recently went to Ollie's. I have an Ollie's here in my town, and so I purchased The Christie Affair. And this is historical fiction. So that's another thing about me is I'm just not a one genre type person. I do like to read multiple genres, and I do like historical fiction. I like general fiction, historical fiction, thrillers, and romance. Those are the ones that I do tend to read. Haven't really dwelt into much fantasy, and I'm not really big on sci-fi, but there are a couple of books in both of those genres that I think that I might want to try because I am currently reading Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And when I tell you, I'm enjoying it. Like, I am in love with these two. Misery and Low, I just really am digging them. And so I'm thinking, maybe in 2026, I'll start reading a little romantasy and a little fantasy. So we'll see. I also purchased this special edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, this book was $4.99 for one thing. So let's talk about Ollie's for a minute and how cheap their books are. Okay, there's that. This is a paperback, but this is a hardback, and this is a special edition cover because I think the other cover is black and gold, and this one is blue and gold. And it has special edition right here. So I decided that I was going to get this book just because the price was so good, and that this was a big book, that this book was, just blowing up all over Book Talk. And so I decided to grab this copy so I can have it, and then I'll eventually read it. I don't know when. That's another thing. I usually do these TBRs and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this book. And then I was like, okay, so I haven't really been good at keeping up with that this year, like not at all. So I'm thinking that maybe I'm just going to start just grabbing books off my bookshelf and just reading whatever I feel like. And so if maybe I'm going to be a mood reader, I don't know, but we'll see. I'm just going to kind of feel it out and see if it's going to work for me. We'll see. I also purchased, Did You Hear About Kitty Carr? And I thought this book sounded very interesting. When Kitty Carr Tate, a white icon of the silver screen, dies and her $1 billion estate she leaves to the St. John sisters, 3 young, wealthy Black women, it prompts questions, lots of questions. A celebrity in her own right, Elise St. John, would rather focus on sorting out Kitty affairs than deal with the press. But what she discovers is one of Kitty's journals rock her world harder than any other brewing scandal could. And between a cheating fiance and a fallout from a controversial social media post, there are plenty. And it goes on to kind of give you this kind of like idea that like, why would this lady leave this money to these ladies? And what's really going on? What's the secret? And so I like books that are messy. And it sounds like it's a little messy. So the messier the better for me. Okay. So those are the 3 books that I purchased from Ollie's. My mother-in-law purchased, or should I say, she gifted me a gift card for my birthday last year, November. And I discovered that it was still on my bookshelf in September. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? So I went to Barnes & Noble to use the gift card, which was like maybe a $20 gift card, and enough to me to buy 1 book. And I walked away with 5 books. So let's talk about them for a minute. So this book right here, Not So Perfect Strangers, has been on my bookshelf for quite a while. And it's a thriller. As I said, I'm a thriller girly. And then it is written by S.L. Stratton, and she is a Black author. And so I read all different types of books from all different types of authors. I just like to read. Whatever strikes me, I read. But then when I saw that this was on my TBR and they had it at Barnes & Noble, I was like, okay, let me get it. And then when I saw it was a Black author, I said, okay, yeah, you got to get it. So Not So Perfect Strangers is Tasha Jenkins has finally found the courage to leave her abusive husband, taking her teenage son with her. Tasha checks into a motel the night before their flight out of DC and out of Cordell Jenkins' life forever. But escaping isn't so easy, and Tasha soon finds herself driving back to her own personal hell. Yeah. A lot of good things I've heard about this book, so I'm excited to read it. Again, I'm a thriller girl, so this is probably going to be my jam. And I love how big this book is. Like, I like a book that's a paperback that's, kind of big. I don't know. I'm weird. I just do. I also purchased Flawless. Now, this book is a series, and it's been like really, really big for the last year or 2. And I think this is the first book. Is it the Silver Springs edition series? I think is what it is. And so this is about Rhett Eaton. He's the face of professional bull riding and the golden boy, or at least he was until it all blew up in his face after a public brawl. Cowboy romance, never really read them. They kind of remind me of back in the day when my sisters and I used to read these books from like Joanna Lindsay. Like, these authors are you probably don't even know who they are. If you're younger and you're watching this video, then you probably don't know who these people are. But if you know anything about Fabio was this, he was this model, and he would always have his shirt off and the wind would be blowing, and you would see like his hair kind of blowing in the wind, and he would always have this like damsel in distress like in his arms. Those kind of books. Harlequin romance or those type of books. So those type of books is what we used to read. And these kind of cowboy romances kind of put me in the mind of that. So I'm thinking I might dig them. So we'll see. This will be my first one of the series. If I like it, I'll probably commit to the rest of them. That's another thing about me. I don't really do series too often, but if I like the first book, which I will probably buy, I probably won't buy the other book if I don't like the first one. If I like the first one, then I'll commit to the other book. So there's that. I also purchased The End of Her, and this is a book by Sherry Lapina, and I've never read any of her books either, but I have a cousin who also, well, she's married to my cousin-in-law. She told me, she was like, I've read some of her books. I love her. I've watched your book talk. I know that you're a thriller girl, so maybe you try some of hers. And so when I went into Barnes & Noble, I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So I don't know if Pam, if you've read this, let me know, but I'm going to give it a try. Now, my cousin is a big fan of the series by Eric LaSalle, the doctor from ER, who knew that the guy was, a writer. But Laws of Depravity is by Eric LaSalle, and I believe it's almost like a crime fiction, which I read a book this year. I think it was Look Closer by David Ellis. Best book I read all year. And it was a thriller, but it was a crime fiction. And when I tell you, I was like, wow, maybe you really do like crime fiction. Like maybe this is what you need to be reading more of. And he co-wrote a lot of books with James Patterson. So then I was saying to myself, maybe you need to read some James Patterson, because I've never read any of his books either. So I might give it a try. I have a lot of James Patterson in the media center that I manage. And so I might check one out one day in the near future. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to this. And again, this is a series. If I like this as much as my cousin did, then I'll probably commit to getting or reading the rest of the books as well. Okay. This book here has been on my TBR for a while. And I think that, so let me just tell you, I'm not a real fluffy romance reader. I'm not. I like romance. I even like a little smut in my romance. It's not what I'm digging all the time. I like gripping stories. And so that's me. Romances that are kind of cookie cutter cutesy, it's not what I'm trying to do all the time, and it's just me. But this one is, I believe, sounds pretty interesting. It says 2,000 of Instagram followers. Josephine Boateng is the dazzling Dr. JoJo, and her opinions of health and self-love matter. Her message: be smart, be significant, and do not put up with foolish men. Off camera, Jo's story is more complicated. She's grappling with depression and the pressure of her career. Her love life is non-existent thanks to a decade-long unrequited crush on her best friend, rom-com heartthrob Ezra Alderman. And just to go on and so forth, I believe that it's like a love triangle. So anyway, so I'm kind of interested in this. If you've read it, drop me a line, let me know what you thought. So again, if it's too cookie cutter, give me a heads up, because once I sit down and read it, I don't want to DNF a book that I just bought. That really just bums me, but gotta do what you gotta do. Maybe I'll donate it to somebody if I'm not really crazy about it, but hey, I might like it. We'll see. So what else do I have here? So I went to a book fair this past weekend. I think it was like October 18th. A friend and I went. She's also a media specialist in the district that I work. And so she and I kind of just jumped in the car and just drove on down to Fayetteville, Georgia. And we went to the Book and Booze book fair. It was the very first book fair for this particular area. And I think it was a brewing company that basically was sponsoring it. And so that's why it's called Books and Booze. But it was a kind of a small little book fair, but I was really impressed with some of the vendors that were there. And I think that next year is probably going to be much better. And so from Books and Booze, I purchased Pen Pal. Now, this was from a pop-up bookstore, and the name of that bookstore is Honey Baby Books. And Brandy is the owner of Honey Baby Books. And what she does is, I believe she just has like a pop-up bookstore that she just pops up at all these different little festivals and stuff. And then she probably has a website that she sells from as well. And so her little setup was really, really cute. And so I went ahead and I purchased this book on her recommendation, because I'm trying to read different types of books, you know, from what I'm used to in the norm. And maybe this is a little smuttier than what I'm normally reading, but she highly recommended. I was like, okay, so I'll try it. And I took her recommendation. I also got a blind date with a book that I haven't opened yet, and I'm really anxious to kind of see, excited to see, not anxious to see, kind of excited to see what is in here. But she gives a little clue and basically says that the teaser is, he left her broken. Now he's back with blood on his hands and a ring in his pocket. Redemption has never looked so dangerous. And the genre is mafia romance, which I've never read. And that's the reason why she said, why don't you just try to, you know, see about reading some. And so when I read this, I was like, okay, I'm going to get this from you since you said that you like mafia romances and second chance romance. It's a mafia romance, second chance romance, and I'm a second chance romance girl. Like, if I'm going to read a romance trope and I'm really going to be invested in it, I really feel like the second chance romance is the one that I like the best. So yeah, I'm anxious to, or excited to read this and really just to open it and see what it's all about. So those two I got from the book fair. And then while we were at the book fair, we went to a local bookstore, which is in the, it's like in a shopping area in Fayetteville, and it's like where studios are. But anyway, so I decided that I was going to finally just see what the hype was. I went into Scholar and Scribe, which is this bookstore here. If I can show you. Scholar and Scribe. See that? And Scholar and Scribe is just a small little independent bookstore, but it was really nice in there. And so she suggested these two books. I have not read this series, of course, because I'm holding them in my hand right now, but I said, okay, I'm going to give them a try because there's been so much talk about them. And she said, you read this one first and you read this one second, and then there's like 2 or 3 other books afterwards. But I don't want to commit to so many books because say that I like this one and I don't like that one. I mean, come on. I'm just not that type of girl where I'm just going to be buying all these books and just invest into them, particularly if they're romances. Like, I think more than anything, I'll DNF a romance before I DNF anything else because it's got to be a good story in order for me to continue to read it. So, the Magnolia Parks and Daisy Waits, I'm going to give these two a shot, and I'll be doing book reviews in these, so you'll know if I'm going to continue on with the series just by what I say about these 2 books. Okay. And so last but not least, last year I read a couple of Christmas romances, and yeah, they're a little fluffy and yeah, they're a little hallmarky, but I really liked them. I thought that they were really cute, the 2 that I read, and they were about the thickness of this book right here. And so I decided to try a couple of more. So this book is entitled You Make It Feel Like Christmas. And so I said I was going to give this one a try. It says, it's the most wonderful time of the year for everyone except Star Lewis. So I don't know what's going on with Star, but I'm going to find out what's going on with Star. And so we'll have to see. Also, now this was a book that I was kind of looking at last year, and I decided to wait, and I ordered 2 other books. So I doubled back this year and I ordered this book, and this is Second Chance Christmas. I'm probably going to like this one. Well, I might like it. Because I do like the second chance romance trope, as I've said so many times in this video. So yeah, I'm going to be delving into this at some point. It is old flames are reunited with the burden of their past and a love that still lingers in this heartfelt holiday romance. That sounds like I'm going to like it. Like, if they got some issues going on that they overcome, oh yeah. So I'm excited about this one. This is Second Chance Christmas. Okay. Now, I talked about how I'm not really a romance girl, and I am a romance girl. I do like romances, but it's got to be the right type of romance, and it can't be cookie cutter, and it can't be too hallmarky where, you know, it isn't real deep. But if the writer can write and the writer is funny and it's a rom-com, I think that that's really, those I really can get into. Like Abby Jimenez, I love her books. The Part of Your World series, I love those books. And I laughed out loud, particularly with that second book, Yours Truly. I absolutely love Brianna, and I just love that story. And so those type of romances, I think, are really my jam, because when I read A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn, and I have a video that I put up about it, I love that book so much. I love Huxley. He was a man who was about pleasing his woman. And I was down for him, like down for him. And so I said, okay, I think that once I do read the other two Kane brother books, which I was told that the second one was just as good as the first. I haven't read that one yet, but I'm going to eventually because I have all three of those books. So anyway, I decided that I was going to read this book, buy this book, because it was all the rage last Christmas. And that is Megan Quinn's How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. Heard so much good stuff about this. This was all the rage last year. Everybody was talking about it. I mean, everybody. Every time I turned on TikTok, every time I turned on YouTube, somebody was talking about this book. And so I purchased this book because the second book has dropped in the series. And so I purchased this at the book fair that I went to. And so I said, okay, I've bought this book. Let me go ahead and buy the first book. So I ordered that from Amazon and it came the other day. And so now I have both books. And look at the sprayed edges on this one. It's adorable. So yeah, so I'm going to be reading a lot of romance this Christmas. And I'm probably going to start sometime in November with this first book. So yeah. That's pretty much my book haul. Like, I've had these books, some of these books since the spring, and I didn't even put them out. And now I'm going to add them to my shelf. Now, one thing that I do want to share with you is that I, again, am a school librarian, and I do tend to, I wear these little cheesy shirts and stuff. So this shirt that I have on right here has all these little cozy little bookish things that people, you know, like to have around the fall with the socks and the books and the pumpkins and the coffee. And so, yeah, so when you see me on this YouTube channel, you will probably see me in one of my little shirts. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you will subscribe to my channel. This is my first one, so it's probably not going to be as brilliant and great as some of you other people who are out there and you've been doing these book reviews for a very long time, or these just having a book channel, a channel based on books for so long. And I just am inspired by so many of you. And so, yeah, I took the advice of my cousin and my daughter. They were like, look, you've got these subscribers on TikTok. Get on YouTube and kind of put your stuff out there. And so that's what I'm doing. So again, I'm Missy Reads, and I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe to my channel, and I will try to have content loaded at least once a week. And so I will probably, the next video that I will probably put up would be my review on Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because that's my current read. And I absolutely love it. So I'm excited to talk about it. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and like and subscribe. Bye.